Welcome, travelers, to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable. For when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
As a senior in high school, many years ago, my friend and I frequently spent time at the local lake. One slightly overcast day, we were there, chilling, talking, and generally just hanging out. The sun was large and kind of low in the sky, and was a dark red color at the time. Because it was a bit overcast, we were able to see it very well, without hurting our eyes. As we hung out, we noticed that the sun started shrinking. Not eclipse style from the side, but the circumference started getting smaller, and pretty rapidly. As I mentioned, it was overcast, but it didn't appear to be caused by clouds obscuring our view. It wasn't just the normal dipping below the horizon either, as it wasn't nearly that close to the horizon. In the span of maybe 1 minute, the entire sun blacked out. It was completely dark. That lasted about a second. It completely freaked both of us out. The sun immediately began glowing again, in the reverse progression of how it had disappeared. Within a couple of minutes, it was totally back to normal in the sky. I've never seen it do this again, and I don't know a good example for it. I'd like to believe it was an eclipse, but I've never seen one behave that way since. Hey guys, I'm going to preference this by saying this probably isn't the biggest glitch ever. It might even be one of the more mundane ones on this thread, but I still thought it was weird, interesting, scary, and totally worth sharing. I've recently just moved into a new place. It's just me and my dog, and because I left the last place pretty messy and unorganized, this time I sort of made a pact to myself that I would stay on top of cleaning. General tidiness and housekeeping as a small goal to achieve every day. As part of this pact to myself, I vowed to make my bed every day, even if not as soon as I wake up, but the goal was to never return to an unmade bed at night. This gives me the flexibility to do it any time of the day, as long as when it is bedtime, I return to a nice, properly made bed. Possibly a key fact to remember for the next part of the story. Anyway, today I had an early 5:30 a.m. start, so did not make the bed right away, even though I try to do it first thing most mornings, since I made that commitment to myself. Had a bit of a shit day at work, and ended up leaving it till like 4 p.m. this afternoon. Felt guilty I hadn't done it yet. Previously, the latest I've left it for is like midday or something. I've only lived here like 2 months, so haven't slacked on the commitment too badly just yet, lol. Anyways, so I made the bed roughly, and I know I definitely did, because it looked uneven. I'm not a perfectionist or anything, but at the moment, I'm basically camping out in my lounge room, because that's where the aircon is, so I literally had to go around the whole kitchen and laundry area to try and even out the other side of the sheets. It's a small unit, so it's a bit like a maze, if your mattress is taking over the main lounge room space that leads to the other areas. Anyway, that was all done, and at this point, my dog was already sitting outside with her ball in her mouth waiting for our evening game of fetch. Right, after I finished making the bed, and then going to the foot of the bed to admire my amazingly even work, I was like, okay, time to play with my dog, as she is waiting outside and whimpering because I'm taking longer than I usually do. So I admired my work, making the sheet look equal for a moment, and then headed off after, directly to the backyard to go play with her. Now, normally I'll leave the backyard door open, so she has access to her water, which usually sits in the laundry room. Lately, however, leaving the door open during the evening time has been attracting cockroaches, so I was very mindful of taking her water bowl outside and making sure that the backyard door was firmly shut behind me, as I'm terrified of cockroaches. I played with her for a good hour or so, and then went inside to use the toilet. I get in, and lo and behold, and my bed looks like something out of a horror documentary. Not just that it was unmade, but the quilt cover was so tangled up, the entire quilt to cover ratio was all out of whack, and when I tried fixing it, which was the first thing my brain made me do, and I couldn't even get the quilt to fully occupy the quilt cover no matter what I did. It was like someone had jumped into my bed, rolled around in it, and tossed it around like crazy, making things as uncomfortable as they can for anyone else. Points to take into consideration. It's just me and the dog in the house. The backyard door was firmly shut, and I was sitting right next to it outside. The front doors are the only other point of entry. They were double locked, triple locked actually, if you count the overhead lock, which I always make sure is fastened, as I try to be as careful as possible, since I'm living alone. Basically, no one could have come and gone from either door. So, my only guesses left are a ghost living within my house, or a series of glitches in the matrix. As I know, 110%, I made the bed, and then came outside directly afterwards. I've never felt any ghostly or haunted vibes coming from this place though, so I would definitely be questioning if the general consensus was that it could be part of a haunting. That being said, I'm still pretty creeped out. If we're being honest, I would love to find a reasonable explanation for what happened. What are your thoughts? Any and all ideas would be much appreciated. The title was a bit misleading, because I didn't see these people in different places simultaneously, but rather maybe a minute between the sightings. So, here's the story. A few years ago, my fiancée, who was then my girlfriend, and I took a trip to Washington, D.C. for a 3-day weekend. We decided one of those days to take a train from D.C. to Baltimore, and explore in Baltimore on foot. Eventually taking a train back to D.C. that night, where our Airbnb was. We were walking around Baltimore's waterfront, and ended up going into an observation deck at the top of a building right along the harbor. We stayed up there for about a half an hour, and eventually made our way to the elevator to leave. From my recollection, there's only a single elevator used to usher people from the building's lobby to the top back down again. The elevator came, and when the doors opened, we were replacing a couple who had just come up from the lobby to check out the views. We took the elevator down alone and walked out of the building, back out to the harbor, and no less than 10 feet ahead of us was the exact same couple we just passed in the tower. They were sitting on the beach along the boardwalk, minding their own business, and didn't seem to notice me staring at them. I pointed them out to my girlfriend, and she confirmed to me that it was the same people we just saw approximately a minute prior at the top of the building. We were both confused and a little shocked, but ultimately chalked it up to us just seeing a couple that was coincidentally similar in appearance. I'm not 100% convinced of that reasoning, but there's no other logical explanation for what we both experienced. I still bring this up from time to time because we find it funny, but a little disconcerting. Okay, so I haven't thought about this in years, but this sub brought this incident back to the forefront of my mind. It was July 4th, 2011, and obviously in the US, that's Independence Day. So I got together with a group of friends to go out, because 4th of July was on a weekend that year. I had an early shift the following day, so I decided I shouldn't drink. The night was fun, but around 8, I decided I should try to get back to my side of town before the fireworks started, because I figured traffic and people drunk driving would get worse if I stayed at my friend's house until after the fireworks. So, I'm driving up this narrow side street, going up towards my house. But this side street is one many of the locals use to get from my neighborhood to our south side, which is a major drinking and partying hotspot. Anyway, I had on this very distinctive and obnoxious American flag shirt, where the bodice part had red and white stripes, and the arms were blue and white stars. I bought this shirt from a thrift store, and I had never seen anyone wear something similar, but who knows? Anyway, as I'm driving down the street, I see what looks like a woman with a similar shirt as mine passed out face down on the sidewalk. Like, she looked like something was seriously wrong too. Like she face planted into the ground or something. So I decided to pull over and go check on her. But because the street is so narrow, you can't just double park. You have to go find a place to pull over. So I parked on the block and go to help this lady. I've been down this road many times throughout my life, so I know the landmarks well, and I know exactly where she'd been laying. Although, even though I parked down the street, I literally ran back to her. I couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 minutes max. So I got to where I knew I saw her, and there's nothing. No sign of anyone. No one walking down the street or anything. It was so bizarre, and I got chills. So I decided to drop it and go back to my car. As I'm getting ready to cross the street, this car comes speeding up the street towards me. And before I could even think, and it crashes smack into the retaining wall right by where I was just standing, literally seconds before. Then this nutjob blacks out and drives off. So one of the neighbors comes out and we call the police. And I helped file a police report and then went home. When I got home, I called my mom to tell her about what happened because I was still so shaken up. And she's the one who started putting things together and made me really think about this as if it's a glitch in the Matrix. She feels like I somehow witnessed some alternative reality where I saw myself dead on the sidewalk because in reality, maybe a car struck me earlier than the car that arrived in this dimension. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it then, and I suppose I still don't. But coming here on Reddit today makes me think maybe it was just another glitch in the Matrix. Okay, so this one's been on my mind for a while now. I've been waiting to get your opinion since I joined Reddit, but I never really dared to, so here I go. In 2018, a group of friends from college and I decided to go spend a month in Berlin over the summer. We spent our time between part-time jobs, partying, and just simply enjoying the city and its cultural activities. Everyone in the group was cycling places, but not me. We had a bit of a bike situation with mine, so I decided to spend the rest of our time there on foot or using U-Bahn, metro. It wasn't that much of a bother, so we decided to go to a party near River Spree. This place has bars and clubs, and it's overall a great place to party, but from what I recall, public transportation didn't go that far in the middle of the night. They had all cycled there, so I was the only one without means to go back to our apartment. It was a 20-minute cycle from the bar, but it was at least a 35-minute walk. A friend of mine, I'll call her Eve for the sake of the story, decided to walk back with me and just take her bike next to her, as not to leave me alone wandering around the city in the middle of the night. It was about 4 a.m. Now arrives the glitch. As we're walking down the rather big street and chatting, I remember smelling food and seeing this restaurant past the pedestrian crossing to which we were heading. I'm a foodie, and I was rather hungry, so that was pretty appealing. A woman was sitting there, having food, black hair. I could see her profile through the large windows, which took almost the entire wall up to the ceiling. I specifically remembering thinking, damn, that's weird. They're still open at this time of night? I gotta tell Eve when the flow of the conversation allows. As I was walking and starting to cross the road, the crossing in front of the restaurant, things got black, and it's like I was on autopilot. I was hearing her voice kinda muffled. Once we were past the restaurant, Eve stopped, turned to me, and said, "Wait, Wasn't there a restaurant just there with a woman eating? I had completely forgotten to tell her. It's like my memory had been wiped and restored within seconds. And there it was, a hotel. The large windows were the same, and inside was the hotel restaurant with a layout and tables that looked nothing like what we saw. No woman was eating there. We were both very shocked and saw that a receptionist, male, short hair, was in there. And I knew we just had to ask him if somebody was eating there just now. It was just too freaking weird. He was kind of freaked out about us coming in like that and said he'd been alone for hours. After discussing with Eve, we found out that she saw the woman eating, but she only saw her back. She was seated with her back to the window, when I could tell this woman was Asian because she was seated, showing her profile to me. After that, Eve never wanted to talk about it again, even got pissed when I tried to bring it up. Also, people seem to have changed around me after this event. Even my mom didn't remember something she should have. A lot of people seemed different overall. I must also note that I wasn't drunk at all, and staying up this late was really common for me at that stage. Oh, fun fact, the name of the hotel is the Grimm Hotel, in reference to another of many fairy tales. The story is true though. It's on Alte Jacobstrasse in Berlin Mitte, if you want to look it up. Any thoughts? Tonight's stories are 5 true Glitch in a Matrix stories. If you enjoyed these stories and you'd like to see more, please let me know down in the comment section. Hey, did you know I have merch? Well, I do. Crazy, right? And if you'd like to walk around representing my realm and gaining new travelers, the links to my merch store as well as all my other social medias will be in the description below. As always, I'd like to say a special thank you to all my lovely Patreons. 242 Reads, Seraphine, the Midnight Bard, Hair-Raising Narratives, Creepy Clown Girl, Spooky Boo Scary Story Time, Lycan Trucker, and Pimp Demon. If you'd like to join these lovely travelers but are light on my fire, you can do so by becoming a Patreon as well. Just remember the support is always appreciated but never expected. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ding that bell if you're new for all future content, as it will really help this channel grow and push this video out into the algorithm.
But as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.